Phase Change Engineering Internship Day 8, Writing Design Decisions. If you're watching the video instructions, they cover the entire lesson, so you will need to pause the video when necessary. Activity 1, Connecting to Futura Workspace. You'll read and pin today's message, Writing Design Decisions. Then you'll add to your daily message notes by creating a new header with today's date and message topic. Students, open Futura Workspace and read the daily message from the project director. Remember that the new message, titled Day 8, Writing Design Decisions, should be at the top of the inbox. Add notes at the top of your existing daily message notes with the new heading Day 8, Writing Design Decisions. All the notes you take for this message should fall under this heading. Ensure that you are clear on your task for the day, writing the design decisions paragraphs of the final proposal. You've received feedback from Anton for your outlines. Open the feedback proposal outline message and read it. Teacher, processing outline feedback. In this feedback, Anton only commented on the background research you provided. However, remember that your design decision paragraph should include multiple pieces of evidence from different sources. Let's review the types of evidence to use. Here are some examples of types of evidence. In Anton's feedback, you'll find tips for how to improve your proposals. Now we'll think about some questions to keep in mind as you analyze his feedback. Analyzing feedback letters. What does the feedback suggest about whether you have enough evidence? What does the feedback suggest about whether your evidence is related to the specific criterion? For example, did you use evidence from the dossier and from the baby warmer tests to show what you know about how each material affects the baby's average temperature? What are other suggestions for improving your use of evidence? These questions should help you identify feedback from Anton that will help you with writing the final proposal. You will first read the feedback letters carefully, making notes on how you can use the feedback to write your design decisions paragraph. Then, discuss your ideas with a colleague. Your notes can include questions you might have or items you want to be sure to include in each paragraph. You should also make notes on how you can strengthen your proposals. I'll go back and project the analyzing feedback questions as you work. Reread Anton's feedback letter and take notes about ways that you can improve your use of evidence. Soon, you'll analyze your feedback in groups. First, let's practice analyzing some feedback, thinking about our 3 questions. Is there enough evidence? Is the evidence related to the specific criterion? Are there other suggestions? The purpose of this discussion is for you to share the background research evidence you submitted to the project director, as well as to analyze what kinds of changes you need to make in order to write a successful proposal. When you discuss your feedback with your groups, you should follow the same steps we did for practice. Sample outline feedback. Does this example of feedback on the right indicate whether there is enough evidence? We may say yes because it says not all examples are specific. There was more than one example and he doesn't say there are not enough examples. Is the evidence specific to the criterion of the baby's average temperature? We could say no. There's some extra information that is not needed. The example about cost. Need another example that is specifically about temperature. Are there other suggestions for improvement? There is a reminder to use the dossier and isolated tests looking for things specific to the baby's average temperature. The isolated tests are when you looked at each PCM and insulating material one at a time. You'll now take turns sharing some feedback and discussing these questions. Did Anton think you gave enough evidence? Did he say that the evidence relates to the specific criterion? And did he have other suggestions? Let's discuss how analyzing your feedback letters helped you think about ways to strengthen your proposals. How did you identify evidence that was not specific to the criteria? Did some of the examples actually belong in a different criterion's background research? Perhaps you included evidence for one criterion that would be more appropriate for another criterion. How did your discussion help identify new specific examples that could strengthen your proposals? Now you should be ready to apply the feedback by writing the design decisions for the final proposal. Your outlines included design details, data analysis, goals, and comparisons to other designs, not just background research. Be sure to incorporate all this evidence because multiple sources of evidence will help as you write your final proposals. Teacher, revising design decisions. Today, you'll begin working on your final proposals. You'll start by writing your design decisions paragraphs using a form like this one. You will use your notes and feedback from the project director as a guide. Remember, we have a proposal rubric that tells what Anton is looking for in strong proposals. Let's look carefully at each section of the scientific criterion. Let's review the proficient and excels quality. Proficient uses some topic-specific vocabulary, uses formal writing style somewhat successfully. Excels says uses topic-specific vocabulary clearly and appropriately, uses formal writing style successfully. It's important to think about your audience when you write. When you're writing a paper for science class, do you write differently than you do when you write an email or a text message to a friend? Writing must be adjusted to address each type of audience appropriately and effectively. In your proposal, you need to convince your audience that you've considered research, evidence, and feedback in your optimal design. Here are some words you might use in your proposals: phase change, temperature plateau, thermal energy transfer, insulating material. Using topic-specific vocabulary helps show that you know the science behind your design. The sample proposal in the dossier is about design for a toothbrush. Let's find out how an outline turned into the paragraphs we see in that sample proposal. This sheet has the outline on the left and the finished paragraph on the right. The color coding shows where information in the paragraph came from. You want your final proposal to be convincing, demonstrating how and why your design is optimal. An outline of facts and examples is not as convincing as a well-written argument. In other words, you will want to make your reasoning about your choices clear to people who are reading it. Outlines to paragraphs. Let's look at the data analysis section of the outline first. Where did the information from the outline end up in the paragraph? Analyze the paragraph together and then invite volunteers to share. The first sentence, our design has a clean mouth rating of 84%, which is better than our goal of 80%, shows how the final result and the goal were combined into strong evidence. The comparison to another design shows up in a later sentence, shown in green. Our cheaper design used nylon bristles, $1.20 per toothbrush, but the clean mouth rating for that toothbrush was only 53%. The finished paragraph uses lots of strong evidence from the background research section. Which evidence was left out because it was not relevant to the criterion? Bamboo handles are better for the environment. All the information from the data analysis should go into your paragraph. Include at least 2 strong pieces of evidence from the background research. If you identified evidence that is not in the appropriate criterion or you decided it wasn't strong enough, you do not need to copy these pieces of evidence to the final proposal form. You'll now transfer your outline responses to the final proposal form. Pin the proposal outline form using the pin icon in the top right corner. Students, press the pin icon on the proposal outline form. Open the final proposal form, then transfer the data analysis and background research sections from the outline to the final proposal. Students, transfer your outline responses into the final proposal form. You will need to transfer each criterion's details from the proposal outline form to the correct criterion text box on the final proposal form. You may want to retype some of the information. Review the outline notes you copied to decide which parts you'll want to write about in your design decisions paragraphs. Write your 3 design decisions paragraphs, turning your outline notes into complete sentences. Other resources you could use while writing these sections, such as the proposal rubric and tips, help with your proposal message in your inboxes. Tips is a resource you can use as well-defined phrasing that might be helpful in writing your final proposals. Today, you're only working in the design decisions section. You will have time to work on the introduction and conclusion sections during your next workday. Activity 2, After Hours Work. After hours, you'll return to your daily message notes to see if you have any unfinished tasks. If you haven't already, you'll finish the design decisions section. Students, check your notes to be sure you've completed all your tasks for the day. End of lesson.